Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. You already saw the title, so you know what's up. We're working on an AI cake today and we want to come as close to this design as we can. So let's get right into it. The first thing we do is get our fondant. I'm making sure I have some cornstarch on my hand, so when I pick up the fondant, I don't leave prints on the cake. It keeps my hand really dry. And I'm using cornstarch to roll out my fondant because the humidity here is really high. We place the fondant on the board. The reason why we're doing this is because in the original photo there are no seams on the board. It's just like one piece. It's just one piece. So we're trying to create that exact one piece without having any seams on the board, and this is the only way to do it. So we trim around the edge of this circle to create that beautiful base we have in the photo. I'm pulling up the photo right again so you can see that right now. Then I clean up the edge of the board, taking away the excess pieces that we don't need. Next thing I do is glue that down with some water, and I do this all around the board. Then I take a fondant smoother, and press down this fondant onto the board, making sure it's stuck on the board properly. Then we get the cake and we do this gently. We put down one side first, then we put down the other side. Now I'm using this particular technique because I'm just trying to stay as close to the original photo as I can. Now we roll out our white fondant using cornstarch. This white fondant will be the pages of the book, and I'm using cornstarch to roll out this fondant because of the humidity. You could use a traditional icing sugar, but once again this just works right now for the weather. Now I'm cutting out this white fondant and I'm making sure to measure along as I go. If you're going to also do this, you would need your ruler and some sort of marker to mark the length and the width for your notebook. I'm going to roll that fondant over and then apply some water and then place the fondant right on the sides of the cake. I know I'm saying and then a lot. I'm so sorry. If you're going to do this, I suggest you ice your cake down and take your cake into the refrigerator to chill so that chocolate can really firm up. I didn't actually do that, I just skipped that step, and I eventually had my white stained with some chocolate. And I cut the excess of the white fondant and then transfer that onto a turntable to make things easier as I go. Next thing I do is smooth that page, or just smooth that fondant, that piece of fondant which will be the page, smooth that over. To make this look more like a book, I'm creating straight lines on the cake using a ruler. So I just take that ruler and press that into the cake. I'm now going to use a knife to make that cut more obvious. I'm not going to make it so deep, just a graze on the surface of that fondant, just so it can be more visible. Moving on now, I'm rolling out a larger piece of fondant which will be our book cover. Now this piece of fondant is the total length of the top of the cake and the side of the cake. That's going to be our book cover. Now I'm rounding the corners of this notebook. That's not in the original photo, but I prefer that, so I think we should just go with that. Now I'm using some water on the edge of that fondant, and then I pick up that large piece of fondant and place it right over the top of this cake. Now here's the tricky part. I already measured out this cake, but right now I'm trying to ensure that the top and the bottom of the book cover are actually equal. So in moving out this fondant, it's actually stretching more and more, which you will see when I drop it eventually. It's longer on one side, and so I'll definitely have to trim that. So I'm moving this around to ensure that everything is perfectly straight and as good as it can get before I smooth that down. So if it wasn't, you could also pick up that fondant, you know. But since it's actually straight, I'm just going to press that down and then trim the sides of that book cover to make it as straight as possible, so when you look at it, the book is straight. Now it's time to clean up that bit of mess I made by the side. I'm using some alcohol and fondant. I just rub that fondant and alcohol over the stain and it's gone. The next thing we do is get a straight line on top of this cake. Now I'm making sure the line is straight, that's why I'm using a ruler and then a modeling tool to make an indentation right along that line. This is also on the book cover. This is on some books actually. I don't know, it's just some indentation on the book cover. So I'm pressing that in and I'm going to do this a couple of times to ensure that it's as straight as possible. And then I would also do it on the other side of the book cover, but I'm not going to make this so deep so it doesn't like fall off when I attach the belt of the book. So doing that just once is enough. Now we're going to add the other book cover. So it's more like an illusion. It's not an actual book cover, it's just a piece. So to do that, we're rolling out a little piece of fondant, and of course I'm using cornstarch once again. And I'm also going to apply some on my hands to make sure my hand is really dry when I touch the fondant at any point in time. So first of all, I measure out a very long strip of fondant and then a short one to use as the bottom of our book cover. Now we apply that onto the board and just press that around the edge of this cake. Now I'm making 4 points on this cake and I will join those 4 points together. On the 4 opposite ends of this book cover, there are 4 materials. AI just generated that stuff. I don't even know where to get it, but I'm just going to work with what I have. So at this point, it's not going to be an exact cake, but it's going to be close. So we're going to use this brown fondant and this lace mat that I have. I'm going to cut this into a triangle and then apply that onto the cake, sticking it with some water. I'm going to apply some water onto a straight line and then I'm going to use an extruder with a circle nozzle to get a piece of rope-like fondant. So first of all, I'm going to feed in the brown fondant into the extruder and then I begin to twist the what's that thing, the controller. I begin to twist the controller until I get a straight fondant, and then I'm going to straighten this out with a piece of ruler, cut the required length and place that onto the top of the cake. Now I'm doing this for the 4 sides of the cake. I then make a little piece of fondant and place that right over the cake, creating a belt. There's another belt which we're going to create right about now, but first there's this little piece of fondant that was at the side of the book, so I'm just creating that. I don't know what this is called in books. If you do know, let me know in the comment section. So I'm going to just press that in and create marks on it to make it textured. Now I'm going to create the second belt that goes right over the book cover on the cake. Belt is ready. I stick that right onto the cake and then it's time to assemble the flowers which I made earlier. I'm going to make sure this fits perfectly and make sure they stay upright, and I'm going to hold them down with some toothpick. So the toothpick goes right through the flower and then into the cake. I add the last piece of flour onto the cake and it's looking good already. So those little spaces, I'm just going to fill them in. I apply some gold on the molds to highlight them and wrap the board with some ribbon. Now I'm making some flowers with the mold that I have, so I'm going to use different kind of molds here, and I'm just going to my aim is just to get some flowers. The picture, the AI picture, I'm pulling that up now. It doesn't show the other side of the cake, so I'm just going to use some molds and decorate the other side of the cake. But first I'm going to apply some water, and then I'm going to stick down the mold. I'm going to stick down the mold onto the side of the cake, since that side of the cake was not shown by the AI. Now I'm going to make some leaves for the flowers. So first thing I do is roll out a piece of green fondant onto a leaf mold to give it that impressed leaf design. First off, this fondant is sticking a lot to my roller, but then I try again and it still gets stuck on my roller again. So I'm just going to use it like that. I'm going to use it like that. I then cut out little pieces of leaves using this leaf cutter. I cut each leaf in two to create smaller leaves because they end to be hidden under the larger flowers. Now I apply some water to stick them onto the cake. Then I push each half leaf underneath the flower. So I'm pulling up a photo of my own and the AI. They're definitely not the same. I came as close as I could, and I had to work with the materials I had. I also think I added my own unique style to it, so it gave it a personal touch. So I'm definitely going to be trying this later with some other style from the AI. I'll come as close to it as I can, and I'll also add my personal style to it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you loved it. If you did, please hit that like button, and if you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe and leave a comment below. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.